See if I can go out right here. I don't know where that camera is. Don't think I'm gonna get out that way. Alright, we're gonna go up here and see if we can get these articles. Just gotta be careful as far as using my microphone because it is drizzling and it's not waterproof. I think I got the insurance on it though, in case I damaged it or it died on me. Maybe I can go through right here. I'm trying to get back to the truck now. There's no telling where that camera's at. Somebody could have helped themselves to it. Ow. I pulled my head back, that hurt. It hurt. Grab the camera. Yeah. I think somebody took that camera that was over here. There's the fence. This is the trail we come in on, I think. Nope. This is not where I came in. This is a deer trail though. That aggravates me that I can't find that camera. And it's one of my better cameras. It's not a cell camera, it's just a plain Jane camera. But it's a good camera. Kim gave it to me for Christmas one year. And it's actually a really nice camera. Takes really pretty pictures, very clear. I don't know if I can get out. I'm not going to backtrack. So I had that camera in an area kind of like this, where the deer were traveling. And I mounted it in a way that I would catch them when they come by. Unless a bear pulled it off the tree and went and played with it. This trail, I think I'm on the right trail. This particular trail, Kim and I were walking it. Wasn't real long after we got the property, after we signed on the dotted line and it became ours. We were walking around looking, and somewhere right up in here, I found a deer shed, and it was four points on that one side, but he had a nice, pretty heavy rack to him. And then a few days later, we were down up in here looking, and I found another one. And both of them were I think they were the left side. So whatever deer they came from, it was the left horn on both deers. There's my truck. Yeah, I don't know where that camera went. Sounded like a knock. Again. Alright, let me get up here to the truck and see if I can find a spot sort of under the trees where I can mount the microphone and the camera so that it doesn't get wet. And we'll do some articles. Alright guys, I made it. The creek is behind me. It's close. I've been here about probably 35 minutes. There was something moving in the brush over here, and it was grunting, not like a pig, but very close to a pig. It did not sound big, whatever it was, but it's got me a little on edge, so I don't know if you can see how I'm sitting. I'm ready to run. So if something comes up, I'm gonna run to the truck. I got a very big black bear I caught on camera over here, and I'll add that video clip and show you. It was just 400 yards from where I'm at on the road. If I pull it and I go out, if I go right up here, about 125 yards is the road that goes to the creek. And if you take a left and go to the top of the hill, that's where he was at the gate. All right. I do not have pictures to show you. I have the pictures, but it's raining. I'm getting wet right now. So I put the articles in sleeves that Brother Don has sent to me. And please, if you want to see the pictures, he's got a lot of pictures for these articles. Please go to his channel. I will include his channel link in the description for those of you that are not subscribed to our brother Don Moore. He does all the research and he provides us with this material. He's the backbone of us doing these articles. He does the research, he's doing all of it. All I'm doing is reading it. So please jump over there and show him some love, support him, and just help him build his channel up. Subscribe if you would. I'd greatly appreciate it. And try to get him built up because he does so much behind the scenes that you guys don't see. And he is the heart and the backbone of what we're doing here when it comes to the Sasquatch things, the articles, the dogman, the goat people, all the weird stuff. But all right, guys, we're going to start because I'm a little creeped out. I'm hoping it ain't the bear. All right, this one is titled, Stranded Man in Ocala National Forest Has a Terrifying Skunk Ape Encounter and is Shown a Baby Skunk Ape. The date is January 15th, 2012 at 1 p.m. The location is in the southeast corner of the Ocala National Forest, Paisley, Florida, which is Lake County. From County Road 42, you turn north on Deer Haven Road and go about 5 to 6 miles to the encounter site. Deer Haven Road starts out as a paved road, but after 2 or 3 miles it turns into a narrow sand road called National Forest Service 77. The information source for this article is eyewitness testimony with follow-up phone interview and a Bigfoot researcher encounter location investigation that discovered a spring about 100 feet away from the road, and this spring leads to a stream. Warning: for anyone investigating this dangerous area, proper deep sand terrain vehicle required. There's little to no cell phone service and it may lead to long wait times for passerby assistance. Please be prepared if you go to this area. The preface reads, the Ocala National Forest is one of the biggest national forests east of the Mississippi River, encompassing over 600 square miles. In between very small towns is mostly untouched wilderness with subtropical forests consisting of pine flatwoods, palm hammocks, cypress swamps, lakes, and rivers. It's easy to understand how a species could hide here.
There are many sandy forest service roads, some with no name or number designation, and they have little traffic other than 4x4 off-roaders, ATV riders, hunters, and here's where our terrifying encounter takes place to a man that had no knowledge or belief in skunk apes or Bigfoot. Of interest, just 100 feet from the encounter site and through thick vegetation is a spring that feeds into a stream, which is probably why the skunk ape appeared wet from head to toe during the encounter. The encounter from 2012. A man whose name is withheld for privacy reasons, who was a nature lover and a busy business executive, had a lot of stress working in a very large multinational corporation based in Orlando, Florida. The weekends were his only time to get away and into the woods to recharge his batteries by doing things like hiking, camping, and canoeing, any outdoor activity in wilderness areas where he could be alone. He had been visiting friends in the very small town of Lake Mack, which is about 10 miles west of DeLand. He drove to the Ocala National Forest and decided to go off-roading in his car in a new area. From County Road 42, he turned north on Deer Haven Road. For the first 2 or 3 miles, it's a paved road, but then it changes to sand and turns into National Forest Service Road 77. This road lies at the southeast corner of this forest and is miles away from any of the very small towns. On his map, he sees these sandy forest service roads crisscross this area. He was thinking it would be fun to explore a new area and maybe get a hike in somewhere along the way. There are old pines and oaks draped in Spanish moss along the road, and there are patches thick enough to block out the sun. At this point, little did he know the experience he was about to have. At first, the off-roading seemed like a blast, with the sandy road fairly smooth and easy to navigate in a car. But then the road got more rough with deeper sand, more narrow with thick brush along both sides, and he started to fishtail in his car. He started to doubt his decision to continue on some miles back, but due to the road getting narrow, there was not enough space to turn the car around, as happens with a lot of remote roads in the forest, so he continued on. As he got deeper into this thick area, he got an ominous feeling like he was being watched from the shadows, even though there wasn't a soul around. It was dead silent in this area. His worst fears come true as his car tires get stuck in deep sand. No matter how hard he guns the engine, it makes no difference. He is stuck, and he's not going anywhere. Mired in sand, he's not going anywhere. Mired in sand. He was miles from help and in an area, like in many areas of the Ocala National Forest, where cell phone signal is either non-existent or very low. He got out of his car and started, He got out of his car and started to assess how deep the sand was around the tires and attempted to dig out the wheels. He stood up to stretch his back when he got an overpowering feeling he was not alone as the hair on the back of his neck stood up. It was more than a feeling. It was a knowing that someone or something was lurking just out of sight and watching him. A rock came flying out of the thick brush and hit him in the left thigh near the groin area, and he jumped and yelped in pain and shock. The rock hit the hood and slid off onto the ground, which, after seeing it, told him it was not a snake bite or a bullet. He scans the tree line but sees nothing except some movement in the leaves of the bushes, and he saw palmettos, which told him this must be the source of the thrown rock, whoever or whatever it was. He knew this was not by accident, but on purpose. The rock was thrown hard and with accuracy, but by what? He calls out nervously, "Who's there?" "This isn't funny. I need help getting my car out of the sand. Please help me." But there's no reply, just dead silence from the woods and the brush. This changed quickly after about 30 seconds when he heard movement in front of him in the woods and in back of him only 15 feet away. The sound of sticks snapping and footsteps. One footstep taken and then it would stop. He looked again but saw nothing. He knew it wasn't pigs, bears, or coyotes because they don't throw rocks with amazing accuracy. Feeling very panicked and afraid for his safety, rather than getting unstuck from the sand, he reached into his trunk to grab anything he could find to defend himself, like a few cans of UDAP he had purchased from a previous trip, and that's when the otherworldly noise starts from across the narrow road. A type of angry hissing noise, followed by a gurgling vocalization. Hiss, haw, hiss, haw. He described it as sort of cat-like, but more guttural and not a natural sound. Then he heard a moaning, wailing sound through the trees all around him. He was very freaked out at this point. What creature makes a sound like that, he wondered. He looks across the road into a gap between the leaves in the brush, and he sees it about 15 feet away. A massive, bulky-chested, muscular-armed bipedal creature, 8 feet tall, covered in wet, slick hair, standing upright like a man. But it was no man, and it was no ordinary animal. He had been down in a prostrate position before standing up. For a few seconds he partially observed the features. A love handle around the side of its belly and back, wet black hair mixed with gray, slicked down against lighter colored skin, and thicker hair on the shoulders and arms. It peered back at the man through the leaves, then turns around and is gone, making its way quickly through the woods. When it turned to leave, it had hunched forward to grab onto some branches, which allowed him to get a glimpse of its right hand. From what he could see, the top of its hand and arm was very hairy. There was 3 inches of hair hanging down from the wrist and the same length as its arm hair. When it swung its arm up, he saw the palm area was almost a light gray or white color. He could see the tress move as it he could see the trees move as it moved alongside the road and stopped about 15 or 20 feet, enough to be obscured again. The hissing and other vocalizations stopped. With that small glimpse of this creature in the man's mind, he jumps back into his car. He locks all the doors and lays on his horn, and then realizes there's no one else around for miles to hear his car horn. The sound of the creature moving away through the forest is replaced by silence. He grips the steering wheel, hyperventilating with anxiety that he is stuck in this metal box with a lurking massive beast outside. How will he get away, and will he survive this? Every kid memory he had of monsters doesn't fit what he just saw as the silence continues, but his encounter had just begun. After a minute, he could see a tiny dark portion of it peeking from around a pine tree only 15 or 20 feet in front of him. It appeared to be crouching down and peeking about 3 or 4 feet up from the base of the tree. It was apparent to him the creature had responded to the slamming of his car door, and when he opened and closed his door a few times. The brush on the side of the road explodes as the skunk ape returns. This time it partially steps out on the road with some of its body still obscured by the leaves. It paused, staring back at him, and it seemed to enjoy the terror he was experiencing. After about 30 seconds, it retreats yet again back into the woods. The woods go silent again, but the inside of the car is filled with the man's wildly beating heart. He realizes it's playing with him like a cat with a trapped mouse. The creature crashes out of the brush a third time, and this time it gets in front of his car on all fours, then crosses the road in just a few steps. It reminded him of a very fast primate, and this time it was completely soaking wet from head to toe. When it reached the other side, it turned its head and gave him a long, sinister stare. He said the eyes reflected light and had the cold, inhuman look of a smart predator. He realized how easy this thing could tear into his car and into him as well. It then crouched down as if to pounce and attack, and was just a few feet away. Bracing for the attack, something happened he was not expecting. The skunk ape reached down while it was crouched and threw some kind of stinky, slimy, brown, lumpy material about the color and consistency of peanut butter all over the hood of his car. It slid down the hood and onto the sand, leaving a wet residue. This slop ran everywhere and filled his car with such a foul odor inside that he gagged. The beast let out a cry somewhere in between a laugh and a roar. Before he could even react, the creature is gone again back into the woods. He prays and hopes it will not return a fourth time, while the stink of the slop on the hood and windshield makes him woozy. After a few minutes of silence and no sign of the skunk ape, he exits his car and scrapes up some of the goop on the hood and decides to lay on his horn a second time to draw anyone to his location, but he only draws the beast to him a fourth time. It stepped fully into view, and he stares, transfixed, as it rises, standing straight up at 8 feet tall, covered with dark matted hair. It stared at him with intelligent, malicious eyes, human-like eyes, but with an inhuman face. Its head sat forward on a powerfully built neck. It had a heavy brow ridge. The face was dark gray in color, with flattened nostrils and fat lips on a wide mouth lined with teeth he knew could shred him in seconds. In that moment of clarity, he realizes he is looking at the legendary Bigfoot. It raises its long arms and bellows at the man as if it's marking its territory, then turns and is gone again into the thick brush, leaving the man still hyperventilating and in disbelief. He continued to honk the horn. 1 minute passed and the creature emerged a fifth time. It's carrying something, a baby, a juvenile skunk ape that is dangling limp in its massive grip and arms as it walked beside the male. Seeming very limp, but with his eyes looking forward, the creature lifted the baby back up into its arms and on its hip with a tenderness the man did not expect, as if to tell him that they live here, breed here, and thrive here in numbers unknown. The baby wrapped its arms around the chest of the 8-foot male and was carried on the hip as they disappeared into the scrub brush. The baby was 3 feet tall and lighter color than the adult male, more light brown mixed with tints of red and blonde, unlike the adult male that was black with gray. The baby looked emaciated, with its ribs showing through the hair that covered it. The enormity of what he is witnessing hits him like a brick. Then the creatures return to the forest from where they emerged, and the forest goes silent yet again. Sitting frozen in his car for 1 hour and wishing this nightmare is finally over, he hears and sees 2 jeeps coming down the road. They are hunters, and they assist him in pulling his car out of the thick sand and getting him on his way. He says nothing to them about his encounter. Free of the sand trap, he guns the engine up to 85 miles per hour to flee the area, and he is still in shock and doesn't want to get trapped again in deep sand. He leaves the Ocala National Forest area with the gravity of what he saw still haunting him. Reaching home, he collapses into bed and goes into a troubled sleep. Waking up, perhaps hoping it was a dream, he knows what he saw was very real. In the following weeks, he would try to come to terms with this life-altering experience and knowing these creatures exist, yet feeling tormented and not being able to tell a soul about it. He wondered if he should return to the encounter area to find proof, but the very thought of running into these creatures and its young terrifies him. He will never view the forest or the world the same way again. It weighs heavily on him, changing him. If this creature exists, he pondered, then what else is out there? What other monsters lurk in the untamed locations in the world? Being afraid of ridicule at the beginning, in time he thought it was wise to share his encounter with the public, but remain anonymous at the same time and help himself to process the encounter. Maybe someone will believe him, or someone who had their own encounter. Before this terrifying encounter, the man laughed at the subject of Bigfoot and would have laughed at anybody claiming to have saw one. But now he knows better. He knows they exist. He still remembers the tall, massive creature staring at him with cold, knowing eyes. He can't unsee it, cradling its baby, giving evidence of a whole species of these things. He knows now that these creatures roam our forest and for the most part avoid detection. He says he was an unbeliever and still encountered them by accident and wonders how long will it be until their existence is known to all the public as a reality. Will it be interest or fear once the world knows what monster hominids are real? There's a lot of noise coming from that side there. You guys, I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep cool. My pages are getting wet. I should have put them in upside down. The slit in these plastic sleeves are at the top of the page, and so water's running down them. That's why I'm bent over. I'm sorry about that. All right, we're going to do another one. I may have to get in the truck and do it, and I'll just aim the camera out the window because they are getting soaked. Give me just a minute. I'm going to reposition. I don't like this. I keep hearing stuff back here and hearing these grunts back over here. I don't know what it is. Maybe a bear. Give me just a few minutes, and we're gonna move up, get in the truck, and set somewhere where I can keep these pages dry. They are getting wet. The whole top of them's getting wet. I don't know if y'all can hear that or not. There's something over there. Give me just a second. All right, here we go. Alrighty, I moved up, got the camera in it's hanging from the little grab handle inside the truck, but I got the window down. So I apologize for the echo. It's probably going to be really loud. All right, we're going to start on this next article. This is titled A Renter's Nightmare. An aggressive 10-foot killer dogman. Warning, some parts of this article are graphic, so if any of you have a weak stomach and you can't tolerate anything graphic in nature, you may want to skip this. All right, the year is undisclosed for privacy reasons, but it happened in recent years. The location is Sparta, Georgia, which is Hancock County. It's a town northeast of Macon, Georgia. The information source is multiple eyewitness testimony, including dead dogs, property damage, yellow eye shine, and screeching, growling noises. A man who owned and bred pit bulls for 12 years moved into a rental property with a house in Sparta, Georgia, which is a small town northeast of Macon. He had a total of 15 dogs. Before doing so, the landlord asked if his pit bulls were dangerous, and he explained that it depended on the environment they are raised in, and if raised in a loving household, then the pit bull would be loving, but the same applies the other way, if the pit bull is raised in a bad environment. He told the landlord that some pit bulls, if they are still aggressive after being in a loving household, those are the ones that he kept isolated from the rest of his dogs in cages. And if he needed protection for his property, those were the ones he let out of their cages. The ones he kept in cages were not afraid of anything or anyone, so their behavior on the first night he stayed in the rental house was alarming and strange. When letting these 4 aggressive dogs out of their cages, they started whining and moaning, and they ran to hide under the crawl space of the house. He didn't know what was wrong with them. The next day at feeding time, these same 4 dogs came from under the house only to eat and then ran back under the crawl space again. He knew something was wrong, so he decided to investigate under the house in the crawl space. When taking a look around under the house, not only were the 4 dogs staying there all day, but they were relieving themselves under there also. In addition, they had dug 4 deep holes to hide in. Something was seriously wrong, but at that moment he could not put his finger on what it was. At 1 a.m. on the second night, the dogs started running around in a circle, but not barking, as if purposely remaining silent in an alarmed state. He stepped out on the rear porch to see what was going on, and when the 4 dogs saw him, they started barking and growling towards the woods along the fence line. Then all the dogs, including the puppies, started barking, growling, and going crazy. Then that's when he heard it. A screeching sound he could only describe as somewhat human, but with the pitch completely off. And that was followed by a growl that was so loud it scared him to death. He ran back inside the house and grabbed the shotgun. Returning to the rear porch, every dog was crying and whining, and his 4 aggressive dogs ran back under the house. As he stood there with the shotgun, it dawned on him there was something really wrong with this rental property. He could hear something pacing back and forth in the darkness on the other side of the 9-foot-high wooden fence just beyond the tree line. Grabbing a flashlight and shining it in the area where the pacing sound was going on, he could see yellow eye shine. One of the main reasons he had rented this property was the 9-foot-high wood fence that surrounded the back of the property, and he thought it would be a good area for the dogs to run around in securely. Here's the terrifying part. The yellow eye shine was above the height of the 9-foot-high wood fence, making the height of this creature to be at least 10 feet or higher. At this point, he was completely terrified, realizing how big this something was. He didn't sleep a wink that night. The next morning, he took 2 of his dogs into the woods to investigate the area he had seen the yellow eye shine. After only going about 60 to 75 feet into the woods, his 2 dogs tucked their tails and ran back home like they were letting him know that it was as far as they should all go. For the next week, all was quiet each night with nothing strange happening, but this was to change very suddenly. And we're coming into a graphic section, you guys. Thinking the danger had somewhat passed, and on the following Saturday night, his brother picked him up to go out for drinks and socializing. The brothers did not get back home to the rental property until 12:30 a.m., and what they find is like a murder scene. Part of the 9-foot-high wooden fence had been knocked down, and there was blood everywhere. There were cages with dogs still in them that had been picked up and thrown around. There were heads of some of his pit bulls that had been torn off, and their bodies and limbs scattered around. It was a gruesome scene. As they both got out of their truck trying to absorb the horror of what had just happened, one of the dogs came running out from under the crawl space of the house and hugged the leg of the man. It was shaking and urinating on itself from fear. The next morning he realized of the 15 dogs he had, 5 were dead, 4 were missing and had been taken by this creature, leaving only 6 dogs alive but shaken. His brother found a trail leading into the wood line and blood everywhere. Getting a shotgun, the 2 brothers go into the woods. After only 600 feet, they found one of the dogs torn to shreds. The legs had been gnawed on, the ribs ripped open, and the intestines pulled out and scattered all over the place. At this point, his brother turned to him and said he needed to pack his things and move out of this property today, and he would help him do so before the night came. The brother said he could bring all of his dogs to his house, and he would talk to his wife about it, not to worry, but that he needed to pack up and leave now. As they were packing, clearing the house out, and near finishing, the landlord pulls up in his car. Whether this was coincidence or whether the neighbor down the street phoned the landlord and told him he was packing to move is not known. The landlord became aggressive, wanting to know what was going on and why he was leaving and what had happened to his downed 9-foot wooden fence in the back. The man, being angry, agitated, and afraid from all the bloodshed and losing 9 of his dogs, he let the landlord have a piece of his mind. He told him he knew there was a monster in the woods when he rented this house to him, but he allowed him to bring all of his dogs out there without telling him anything about the monster. It cost him $15,000 on the loss of his 9 dogs. The look on the landlord's face told the entire story. It went from anger to not being able to look his renter in the eye and only looking down at the ground in shame. On that day, the 2 brothers made 12 trips back and forth to clear the rental house out and get his things to his brothers. By the 4th trip, they were already starting to hear noises from the woods again. This led to them getting 2 of their nephews, grown men, to stand on the porch with shotguns while they finished loading and making their trips. By the time the sun had started to go down, the 2 nephews were begging them to leave the property. They were able to finish moving all the things out and moving the remaining dogs off the property to the brothers' place. The landlord wasn't finished, though, as he threatened to sue the man over the condition of his property they had left, with a torn-up backyard and a portion of the downed wooden fence. The man told the landlord he was welcome to sue him, but he was not going back over to that property. Not ever. Nor was he going to get a dime out of him. He said the monsters on that property were the problem of the landlord, and he needed to come clean about it and deal with it before someone got killed by this thing or others of its kind. Wow. That's crazy. And guys, the pictures for these articles are on our brother Don Moore's channel, and I'll have the link for that channel. It'll be in the description below, so please jump over there and check him out, subscribe to his channel, help him build his channel up. I greatly appreciate it, and I know that he would. Alright, we're going to do one more, and then I'm going to get out of here. I feel like a cat in the middle of a dog pen right now. I got eyes on me from somewhere, but I'm in the truck, and I'm armed. Alright, this one is titled, When a Wild Monkey May Be Something Else. This is Jim's Northern Florida Encounter. The year is 2010. The location is Live Oak, Florida, which is in Suwannee County. It's a little town just west of Lake City near Interstate 10. The information source is multiple eyewitnesses and a short interview with Jim by Don Moore. The preface reads, It may or may not be commonly known that in the 1930s and 40s, Hollywood came to northern Florida to use the beautiful scenery, the backdrops, and clear spring water for swimming scenes, both above and underwater, for 6 of his Tarzan movies starring Johnny Weissmuller. In particular, it was Wakulla Springs, just south of Tallahassee, and Silver Springs on the east side of Ocala locations that were used. Wild monkeys, which included 6 types, rhesus macaques, capuchin monkeys, vervet monkeys, squirrel monkeys, crab-eating macaques, and spider monkeys were brought in to be used as backdrops, and some of them escaped, only to live and breed in the surrounding forest areas for the following decades, all the way to current times, which they can still be encountered in people's backyards in the Silver Springs area at the edge of the Ocala National Forest, and on some properties in the Florida Panhandle that border forested tracts of land. They usually show up in a group and can be aggressive when foraging for food, or if you attempt to leave food for them. Then there's the past historical stories of how steamboat service along northern Florida waterways and rivers had caged monkeys, perhaps used in small circus acts, who escaped into the woods and began populating over the years. Whether this is true or not, it sounds plausible. It's obvious these are regular monkeys when you see them and not something else of a cryptid nature. When the tourist attraction, Silver Springs, with its famous glass-bottom boats, became just a state park in 2013, they kept the glass-bottom boats for tourists to ride. The zoo part of the attraction was emptied. Even before this 2013 park remodeling event, wild monkeys were still present in surrounding forest areas of the park. Nowadays, if you take time and visit right to Silver Springs, you may catch a group of them hanging around the glass-bottom boat docking queue area, and at times getting aggressive with visitors who are certainly entertained by them and who enjoy catching video of someone running from them. It's guaranteed to make a local TV news segment when this happens. There's a famous series of movies, Creature from the Black Lagoon in 1954, and the two sequels, Revenge of the Creature in 1955 and The Creature Walks Among Us in 1956. For the first two films, Hollywood used scenes filmed both above and underwater at Wakulla Springs, just south of Tallahassee, and Marineland, which is in between Daytona and St. Augustine, on A1A along the Atlantic coast. Today it's called Marineland Dolphin Adventure. In fact, Hollywood used Marineland for a total of 10 movies from 1939 to 2018. Long before Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom and resorts opened in October of 1971, Marineland had already been a popular tourist attraction since the 40s. However, these movies didn't require the use of wild monkeys for jungle backdrops, but it's interesting trivia for anyone who is a fan of these creature films. Is it possible that something else other than a group of wild monkeys may travel or at least be seen in the same area as these monkeys? Something quite larger, different, and dangerous? Listen to Jim's frightening story and it may be quite possible. Jim says he still has 13-year-old paper copy photos of the creature in question. Jim's story from 2010. Jim relates, about 13 years ago, in 2010, me and my family owned a large parcel of land in Live Oak, Florida that was surrounded by woods. We really enjoyed it there, though we were entertained by a group of wild monkeys that would occasionally show up in our backyard. We still thought it odd because we knew Florida did not have monkeys as part of its native wildlife. There would be small ones about 18 inches tall walking on their hind legs at times. I had put a few trail cameras out on some of the trees in the back area and would catch photos of this same monkey group along with other native wildlife. Occasionally, there would be a few photos I had no explanation for, like a photo where something large to the left of the screen had caused the camera to go off. Whatever it may have been was not clear in the photo, not clear enough to be identified, at least by me or my sons. It's like it was avoiding getting clearly captured on photo by staying to the side of the camera. Then came the photo from the tree cam that at that time I thought was just a large monkey. It was dark colored and down on all fours. Though it was down on all fours, its back was still 3 to 4 feet above the ground level, taller than a large dog would be. The strange thing, with its tail, which curved up and around toward its head, this made me think it was a monkey. When questioned a little further about the features of this creature, and maybe it was a dogman, Jim replied, now that I think back, it did have a snout, and I still get goosebumps on my arms thinking about it. Yes, baboons have snouts. However, no wild baboons are in Florida that we know of. But so do dogmen. I told Jim as far as most of them having tails, and seven variants of them as well. Jim went on, after this photo of the creature was captured is when the real fear started for me and my family. There was a part of the property in the rear that was very dark at night. You could not see your hand in front of your face type of dark. We would get growled at and hear branches breaking from footsteps. We were very scared, not knowing what it was. I went out and bought a high-powered firearm for protection of me and my family as I felt threatened, especially by the growling in the dark. It scared me and my boys when we went out there close to this area. And asking Fish and Game about it, they said bears would not be growling at us in the dark, so a bear was ruled out as the culprit. Shortly after Jim mentioned to the Fish and Game about the creature in the trail cam photo, they said, "Oh, we have been trying to capture that large monkey for a long time, and you got a photo of it?" Obviously, they knew about this creature, and whether they were actually trying to capture it or pass it off as just a large monkey so as not to alert Jim to it being something else is quite possible. A few years later, Jim moved him and his family further south to Central Florida, but the memories of those nights, hearing branches break and getting growled at from the darkness of the woods in the rear of his former property, still gives him goosebumps on his arm. In conclusion, I'm not sure if Jim saw any amber yellow eyes shine, or at least I failed to ask him this question and he didn't mention seeing any. During this short interview, the sun was very hot where we were talking, and we both didn't want to stay much longer outside in the heat. Perhaps, in time, I will see the photos he captured back in 2010. He was willing to dig them out right there, but I told him later would be fine. It was just too hot and humid. It's a fact that through northern Florida and the Panhandle, wild monkeys are occasionally seen on people's properties that back up to or are surrounded by tracts of forested land. You might even catch one ransacking through one of your bags of groceries as you turn your back to unload your vehicle. And guys, there's photos for this article as well. That's the end of that one. And I want to give our brother Don Moore a big thank you for putting all this stuff together for us. And my apologies for being sort of out of the limelight for a while. We got a lot going on with the new house and it being hunting season and trying to get what we need to get us through the year, the deer meat and the families that we help. There's a lot of people that we do our best to help. And it takes quite a bit of meat to feed the families, the different families, and we do what we can. We do the best that we can to try to get everybody hooked up to where, if we can't give them a whole deer, then we'll at least get something for them. But it's just, it's the life that we live. Kim and I, we live off the land for the most part, and this time of the year, hunting season's opened, and I hunt a lot. But also with the new house, I hunted this morning, and then I had to come down at 9 o'clock, and one of the crews is over there right now working on it. So we had to go over there and kind of go through a little checklist, showing them the problem areas that we found, and looked around. Kim found a window that was cracked that we didn't know about, and so they're going to be working on all of that. If all goes well, I'm hoping within another month we should be moving in, but I'll keep you guys updated on that. I'm not going to drag it out and talk about the house right now. I want to give a big thanks and send my love to all of you out there. Thank you for being a part of this channel. All of you, y'all are family to us. You are our extended family, and without you guys and gals here, we wouldn't be what we are today. And we owe you just an abundant debt of gratitude. Something I wanted to mention, a lot of this stuff that I've been doing reviews on, I'm trying to figure out how to do it, but I'm going to be giving this stuff away. I've just got to figure out how to do it so that it's fair and everyone has an opportunity. We have to set it up sort of like a lottery, like a drawing. I just got to figure out how to do it to where I don't know, just we got to set it up in a way, pick a number 1 to 500, and whoever hits the number or is closest to the number wins, whatever item it is, and we get it shipped off to you. But I got to figure out how to do that. But got night vision, the night vision cameras, the cellular trail camera that I'm working on the review right now. We got it up. There's just a lot of different stuff. The rangefinder, I'm going to start giving these things away. And as soon as we get it lined up and figure out how to do it, I will absolutely let all of you know so that everyone has a fair chance at getting their hands on some of these items. Anything I can do to help you guys and gals. If any of you need anything that I can help with, anything at all, if you have an encounter, paranormal encounter, UFO, Sasquatch, dogman, any of the strange things, if you have anything you'd like to share with our family here at Standing Goats Rescue, please email me. If you have an encounter you would like for me to read, or if you would like to come on a live show and tell your encounter out of your own voice, please email me and let me know. My email address is the channel name. It's standinggoatsrescue@yahoo.com. And please don't forget, jump over to Don Moore's YouTube channel. He's got all the photographs that go with these articles, and they're in video format. Please jump over and check them out. Take a look at those pictures. He comes up with some absolutely phenomenal pictures and all these articles that he's found. But there's a lot of videos on his channel of past articles that we've done, and he's got the photographs for. And if you haven't seen those, jump over and check them out. And please subscribe to his channel. Help him build his channel up and get his YouTube family up in numbers. That's what we're all about, is supporting one another and helping one another. And we only get one shot at this life, but we got to do it right and be kind and just help everyone that we can. But guys, I'm getting out of here. I'm wet, and I don't like the way I'm feeling right now. I feel like I got eyes on me, and it's possibly a bear. I'm not far from where we got a huge bear on camera, but I'm going to throw some trail camera pictures up right now, some little video clips, just to show you some of the stuff that we're getting on this property. Just a variety of things. If you'd like to watch that, they're following this now. They're coming right up. I'll see you guys soon. I love you. God bless you. Have an amazing evening, an amazing week, and I will absolutely see you very, very soon. Take care, be kind, and be safe. Bye-bye.